Hi everybody, welcome to Caketastic Cakes. It's Jen and I'm going to show you how to make a St. Patrick's Day themed gnome and a pot of gold out of gum paste. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And if you see any tools or things I use, please check the link in the description below. Alright, to begin our gnome, I'm going to start with his body. I'm starting with some light green gum paste and I'm rolling it out, or rounding it out I should say, over top of a little metal cup that I have. I'm using it in order to create a dome so he's a little more hollow because he's otherwise going to be very solid and very heavy. So I smoothed him over the little cup there, rounded it out. You can see I lifted it off. And now I'm going to trim some off because it's just too big. He needed to be a little bit smaller. So I'm trimming it down, making it a little smaller. I put it on top of my small rolling pin there. And I'm just, again, smoothing it out as best I can, trying to straighten out the sides a little bit. I want them to be round, but not too round. And again, just trimming off the extra. And this time I think I have a pretty good length. I'm happy with it, so I'm going to press him down against the countertop there to flatten that bottom edge. And then I'm going to put it aside and work on the next bottom ring here. So I'm going to take this dark green now to make his little pair of pants, I guess they'd be. And I rolled it out to pretty even thickness. He's not real thick though itself, it's just nice and even. I cut a circle that fit the width of the body pretty well, and I'm taking a smaller circle and stamping out the center so again it's hollow just like the top part of the body. Putting a little water between the two and then put them together. And now I'm going to add a belt so that my little seam there isn't quite so rough. So this is black gum paste. I rolled it out as thin as I could really. And I've got, a pretty good sized little strip going there. I'm putting some water on the back of it. And then when I put it around between the two greens, I'm doing it so it covers more of the light green than the dark green because I don't have a lot of the dark to begin with. So I don't want to lose too much of it, but I do want to lose that seam. So that's what I'm doing right there. That was my goal. Put a little bit of water where they come together. Calling it good. Now I'm going to add his beard. I've got some orange gum paste here. I rolled it out, as you can see, kind of thin. It's not crazy thin, but it's not thick either. I'm shaping it with my knife into an oval, and now I'm kind of flattening out the sides a little bit because I don't want a big stiff ledge. I want it to kind of be nice and smooth. So I'm using the back of my knife blade now to put some ridges into the edges, just there. I'll kind of scallop it out. And with it kind of tapered at the bottom, it's more beard-like, kind of like a Santa Claus beard, or a gnome beard, if you will. I'm going to hold it up there to my gnome. I want it to cover the little seam in the front where the belt comes together. And then I trimmed off any extra that I had. I'm flattening the top because it is going to fold over the top a little bit where the hat is going to end up sitting, so I don't want to be too thick. I'm tapering the edges there just a little bit so it'll fit and sit a little nicer. And then I'm also going to add a few more little decorations to it. I'm using my veining tool and just making some pressure marks in it just to make it look a little more grained like a beard. Makes it more interesting to look at too. And you can see where I had stuck it onto the gnome's body and then peeled it off to do this. So yeah, you should do that before you add water to the back of it. Now I found a circle cutter that I like the size of, and I'm going to take this plug out of his nose here. I'm trying to cut through the orange but not necessarily into the green, and that's where his nose is going to be. So I made a big ball of some peachy color gum paste right there and just popped it right in, and it fills it up perfectly. Now I'm taking the same light green as before and I'm rolling it between my hands to create a cone shape, which as you see is right there. I'm using my knife to hollow it out so it's not going to be so heavy or thick sitting on top of his head. And then I'm going to use my fondant paddle to roll it and roll it and roll it and roll it and roll it until it's nice and smooth and even and not as crazy wonky shaped as it was before. I'm going to want it to try to be flat on the bottom as much as I can, but I'm not going to go crazy because I will trim it. I want it to follow around the curve of the nose, so I don't want it to sit flat on the face. I want it to kind of go up and down around the nose and flare out to the sides a little bit to come down over the side of his head. So pull it and polish it and, do what you have to do to get that shape going. When you're happy with your hat, make sure it's nice and tall too, because that kind of makes it fun. I'm going to take the same dark green that is the pants of my little gnome here, and I'm going to create a border around the edge of his hat. So I'm putting a little bit of water down first, and then I'm going to oh so carefully start following it around the bridge of his nose and around the edge of the hat. When you're doing this, make sure you try not to lose any of that curve that you do have going around the nose. That's why I'm kind of lifting it off and using my finger to almost create bends, if you will, so that it really does shape around it and it doesn't just go straight across and mute all of the effect that I got going there. See, I'm even pushing down with my nail, the back of my nails there. I'm using my veining tool again, just put a couple little creases around his nose. Again, just emphasizing it, going around it. And then I'm going to add one more little detail to him. He's almost done. He's pretty darn simple. I rolled out the black gum paste again, really, really thin. Made a thin little black stripe out of it, and that's going to go around the hat. Put it in place with a little bit of water. Make sure you don't go too high or too low with it. Have it nice and centered. And now I'm going to make a little gold buckle for it. And I have my gold gum paste here. I have a little tiny rectangle that I cut out, and I'm using my veining tool to just press a hole in the center and then wiggle it around to open it up to try to make a rectangular shaped hole in the center. It's not perfect, but it's not shabby either, I gotta say, and it's nice and small. You could do something real big if you wanted to make it more whimsical, but this is what I came up with, and I was really happy with him. I think he's just very cute. Now I'm going to show you how I made my pot of gold. This ball of mismatched colors here is a bunch of scraps that I had that I'm not going to use. So I'm going to use them here. And rather than black, which is like super precious because it's a pain to make, and you can see my hands are already a little bit stained from it earlier, I'm going to save as much of it as I can by rolling it out, flatten the top and bottom off, and then roll out my black gum paste nice and thin, almost like covering a cake with fondant. This is what I'm doing here. So I folded it over the bottom of what's going to be my little pot of gold. I'm just trimming off the extra. I'm going to pull it up as best I can so I don't have any wrinkles or folds, just like when you lay fondant over your cake. Trim off the edge, just like before. And right there it was really wrinkly. It was giving me a hard time. And so, yeah, just keep working that until you have it nice and flush with the top. And I do this sometimes where I need to have a big wad of gum paste and I don't necessarily want to use any of my good colors to just make a solid ball of something precious. I'll just throw my scraps in there. Works perfectly. No one will ever know unless they bite it, in which case maybe they'll feel it's a rainbow treat. Yeah, see? I meant to do that. All right, I'm taking some more of my black gum paste, rolling out a big old long Tootsie Roll stretch of it. And this is going to become the ring around the top of my little pot of gold. So I painted some water around there. I put it around. It's a little too long. Trim some off. Be careful you don't trim too much off because then you have to start it over again. But once you get a nice ring around it, then put it into place. Press it down a little bit so it holds. And there you go. Little pot, right? Looking good. We just need our gold. And that part is going to be super easy. All I did was put a little bit of water down on the top there in the center, just to help my little colored beads stick, and then I pour in my metallic gold edible beads there, make a nice little pile on top, and there you go, pot of gold. How easy, right? Put them together and you have a whimsical little garden gnome that's now ready for St. Patrick's Day. So I hope you found this video helpful. Once again, please like and subscribe because it does help me. I have a lot of other videos, so please check those out when you have the time. And as always, thank you for watching Caketastic Cakes.